Israel has been facing a significant increase in tensions along its border with Lebanon, further destabilizing the region. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, continue to conduct intense operations against Lebanese territory on a daily basis. In a recent large-scale action, the Israeli Air Force carried out an operation that resulted in the destruction of a strategic bridge in Lebanon. This crossing point was essential for the transportation of arms and military supplies. The bridge, in use for quite some time, was crucial for the movement of weapons from Iran and Russia to Lebanon. Faced with this, Israel decided to act, designating the location as a priority target, considering that the shipment of these materials posed a growing threat to the country. With the support of high-precision ballistic missiles, Israeli fighter jets took off from Tel Aviv and struck the target, significantly disrupting Lebanon's military supply chain. Lebanon has been relying on aid from other countries, such as Iran and Russia, which have been bolstering its military arsenal by sending rockets, missiles, and other heavy weapons. The bridge destroyed by Israel was an important link in this logistical network, facilitating the transportation of these weapons for operations against Israel. According to Israeli intelligence, Lebanon was using this route to strengthen its offensives, which prompted the military action. After confirming the bridge's strategic importance, Israeli forces prepared to eliminate it. The fighter jets, equipped with guided missiles, took off and quickly reached Lebanese airspace, successfully completing the total destruction of the structure. The attack on the bridge not only cut off a vital supply route but also considerably disrupted Lebanon's military plans. With the destruction of this structure, the shipment of arms from Iran and Russia was halted, significantly weakening Lebanese military operations against Israel. This action was an important strategic blow, shifting the balance of power in the region in favor of Israel. In addition to the direct impact on military operations, the attack also psychologically shook militia forces in Lebanon. The operation demonstrated Israel's resolve in the face of threats and its ability to hit strategic targets with precision. Lebanon's use of the bridge was seen by Israel as an intolerable risk, and its destruction changed the military landscape in the region. This attack is part of a broader Israeli strategy, which has increased its military and intelligence operations to neutralize potential threats from Lebanon. Meanwhile, the British Navy also carried out a crucial operation against the Houthis in Yemen, who had long posed a risk to maritime trade and security in the Red Sea. British submarines launched torpedoes at strategic Houthi shipyards, weakening the group's ability to carry out attacks on maritime routes. The Houthis, supported by Iran, threatened ships in the Red Sea using drones, mines, and explosive-laden boats, endangering international trade. The destruction of the shipyards by the British Navy significantly reduced the Houthis' offensive capabilities, marking an important shift in the conflict. This operation reaffirmed the UK's commitment to protecting maritime routes and reducing the threat posed by the Houthis in the region. The United States also conducted a large-scale air operation, destroying a weapons factory in Iran that played a vital role in supplying arms to militant groups in the region, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. This attack caused a significant disruption in the military support that Iran provided to its allies, impacting the balance of conflicts in the Middle East. In response, Iran vowed retaliation, calling the attack an aggression aimed at destabilizing the region. These coordinated operations between Israel, the United Kingdom, and the United States illustrate the rising tension and the impact of military actions on the balance of power in the Middle East. These initiatives have profound and lasting implications for regional security as Western forces and their allies seek to contain growing threats from militant groups and countries that support terrorism. The Middle East, already marked by a complex web of alliances and rivalries, becomes even more unstable as these strategic attacks reshape the power dynamics. The destruction of the weapons factory in Iran, for example, not only blocked the supply of arms to groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis but also weakened Iran's geopolitical position. With limited arms production, Iran's regional influence diminishes, particularly in supporting insurgencies and conflicts in countries like Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq. The operation also sends a clear message. The United States and its allies are willing to take preemptive action to neutralize threats before they become more severe. This strategy of eliminating threats at the source, adopted by both Israel and the United States, reflects a new stance on Middle Eastern security. Rather than waiting for threats to materialize, such as arms shipments or the strengthening of militant groups, these countries are opting for an offensive posture. However, these military actions have provoked immediate reactions. Iran, through its officials and military representatives, condemned the attacks as violations of international law and promised to retaliate against those responsible. In response, the Iranian government signaled that it would strengthen its defenses and intensify its support for its allies in the region, to maintain its influence in the Middle East. This cycle of action and reaction creates an escalation environment that could lead to new confrontations in the future. Additionally, Iran-backed militant groups like Hezbollah may choose to launch retaliatory attacks against Israel, using the resources they still possess to carry out offensives. This could include rocket attacks, guerrilla actions, or sabotage operations at strategic locations, further destabilizing the situation, particularly along the Israel-Lebanon border. The region will continue to be the stage for intense military and political disputes, with powers such as Israel and Iran on opposite sides in the struggle for influence and security. The balance of power is constantly shifting, and new military operations may occur as tensions rise and each side tries to secure its strategic position. As tensions increase, the effects of military operations reverberate throughout the region. Israel, seeking to maintain its military superiority and ensure the security of its borders, has reinforced its defenses and intensified preventive operations. The goal is clear: neutralize any threat before it materializes, whether on the borders with Lebanon, Syria, or other territories where Iran-backed militant groups operate. The recent attack on a strategic bridge in Lebanon not only compromised the militants' logistical capacity, but also shook the morale of these groups, which depended on this support to maintain a strong presence against Israel. The destruction of this infrastructure weakens the actions of groups like Hezbollah, which have long relied on Iranian and Russian support to sustain their operations. With this route cut off, pressure on these groups increases, and their ability to continue offensives against Israel is limited. Besides the military impact, there are also significant political consequences. The Lebanese government, which often finds itself torn between supporting militant groups and maintaining diplomatic relations with other nations in the region, now faces an internal crisis. The destruction of strategic infrastructure by Israel could further destabilize the government and exacerbate existing tensions. In a country that has been dealing with internal conflicts, economic crises, and a fragmented political system for years. On the other hand, Iran, which had a weapons factory destroyed by the United States, suffered an even deeper blow. The American operation not only weakened Iran's ability to supply weapons to its regional allies but also sent a clear message to the Tehran government: the United States is willing to use military force to disrupt Iranian arms support. By dismantling critical infrastructure, the US shook Iran's geopolitical position, forcing the regime to reconsider its strategies for supporting militant groups. However, Iran's response is not limited to threats of retaliation. The country will likely seek ways to overcome the obstacles caused by the destruction of its facilities, whether by rebuilding its factories in more protected locations or finding alternative routes to continue sending arms to its allies, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and other groups in Yemen. Iran's adaptability has already been seen in previous conflicts, and it is likely that Western powers will face an increase in clandestine arms transportation operations. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom's direct involvement against the Houthis in Yemen highlights that not only Israel's and the US's interests are at stake but also global security, especially regarding maritime trade routes. The Red Sea, a crucial pathway for global oil trade, plays a vital role in the world economy. Any disruption to these routes could have severe economic repercussions, making the protection of this area a priority for powers like the UK. The Houthis' attacks, fueled by Iranian support, have turned maritime trade into a risk zone, especially for cargo ships and tankers crossing the region. By destroying the Houthis' shipyards used to plan their attacks, the UK not only ensured the safety of trade routes but also weakened the militants' ability to threaten maritime traffic. However, this action could trigger retaliation from the Houthis, who, despite significant losses, still have a military presence in Yemen and may explore new methods to maintain their offensives. The coordinated operations between Israel, the United States, and the United Kingdom underscore a clear strategy of containing Iranian-backed forces. This military alliance not only strengthens Israel's position in the Middle East but also demonstrates that Western powers are willing to adopt a more aggressive approach to protect their interests in the region. However, this escalation of attacks brings with it the risk of a chain reaction, with Iran and its allies intensifying their activities in response to military operations. Geopolitically, these actions are shaping the future of conflicts in the Middle East. The temporary reduction of Iran's military capacity represents a victory for Israel and its allies, but also creates an environment of greater instability where tensions could quickly escalate into new confrontations. Iran's response, whether through direct actions or increased support for its regional allies, will be decisive in determining whether the conflict will intensify or if there is the possibility of a new phase of diplomatic negotiations. At the same time, the role of the international community, especially organizations like the United Nations, will be put to the test. Iran's complaints about violations of international law may pressure the UN and other entities to seek mediation in the crisis. However, with powers such as the United States and Israel firmly committed to their security policies, an immediate diplomatic solution seems unlikely. In summary, these military operations are reshaping the dynamics of power in the Middle East, creating new challenges and opportunities for those involved. The escalation of tensions brings the region to the brink of new conflicts, and the reaction of militant groups supported by external powers will be decisive for the next steps in this complex geopolitical dispute.